We often overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. 10 years is long enough to reinvent yourself completely, but only if you start today. The problem isn't that we don't have time. The problem is that we spend too much time chasing things we don't even believe in. We follow goals without asking why. We accept busy as a badge of honor. We mistake movement for progress. But if you want the next 10 years to be radically different, it starts with a choice. A choice to be intentional, not just reactive. To design your future, not drift into it. You don't need to know every step of the journey. You just need a direction. Something worth walking toward. A purpose that outlives the moment, and a discipline that outlasts motivation. Your next 10 years will be shaped by your habits more than your hopes. So be clear about the life you want, and brutally honest about the patterns that are pulling you away from it. Cut the noise. Surround yourself with people who reflect the future, not the past. Learn relentlessly. Protect your energy. Own your mornings. Practice saying no. We live in a world that often confuses urgency with importance. From a young age, we're told to succeed, to be something, to prove ourselves. We're handed timelines, expectations, and templates for what success should look like. And somewhere along the way, many people begin chasing goals, not because they are meaningful, but because they are expected. This is the trap of pressure. Doing things for approval, recognition, or fear of falling behind. But when you start your journey under pressure, you rarely end up in a place that feels right. You may win awards, climb ladders, and gather praise, yet still feel empty. Because without purpose, success is just noise. Starting with purpose means stepping back before stepping forward. It means asking difficult questions. Why am I doing this? What do I believe in? What kind of life do I want to build, not just for the next year, but for the next decade? These questions don't come with fast answers. They require space, silence, and honesty. But the answers they lead to are the ones that give you strength when motivation fades, and clarity when life gets complicated. When you begin from a place of purpose, pressure no longer dictates your pace. You stop measuring your worth against others and begin honoring your own path. Purpose anchors you. It becomes a compass when everything around you feels uncertain. It makes discipline easier because you're no longer dragging yourself toward a goal. You're pulled by something that matters deeply to you. Pressure often comes from outside, social media, culture, competition, even family. But purpose comes from within. And the truth is, no amount of pressure can sustain you over 10 years if the reason you're doing something doesn't come from your core. Pressure burns you out. Purpose builds you up. People who change their lives over the long term don't just grind harder. They get clear on why they're grinding in the first place. They aren't necessarily the fastest, the smartest, or the loudest, but they're grounded. They know what they want, and more importantly, they know why they want it. More importantly, that's what gives them resilience, focus, and patience. 3 things pressure alone can never provide. If you want to transform the next 10 years, start by letting go of what you should be doing. Start listening to what truly moves you. It might not look impressive to others. It might not be flashy or fast, but it will be yours, and that's what will make it worth it in the end. Most people underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years and overestimate what they can do in a week. The reason is simple, but we're wired for short-term rewards. We want fast results, instant validation, and quick fixes. But the reality is, anything meaningful, anything truly worth building, takes time. When you think only in days or months, you tend to chase urgency instead of depth. You respond to what's loud instead of what's lasting. Thinking in decades forces you to look beyond the moment, to make decisions that will matter not just now, but years from now. Long-term thinking is not about creating a perfect life plan. It's about creating direction. It's about lifting your eyes from the distractions of the moment and asking, well, where am I actually going? When you think in decades, you don't panic over setbacks. You understand that progress is not about constant wins. It's about consistent effort. A failure today doesn't feel like the end. It feels like part of the process, because in the scope of 10 years, most mistakes are lessons, not limitations. But long-term thinking only works when paired with daily action. Vision without execution is just fantasy. Acting in days means showing up every single day with intention. It means asking yourself, what's one thing I can do today that honors the future I'm trying to build? That one thing might be small, it might not look impressive to anyone else. But small steps, taken daily, compound over time. That's the secret. Consistency beats intensity every time. When you think in decades but act in days, you create a powerful balance. You stop rushing. You stop expecting overnight success. You start trusting the process. Your patience grows because your vision stretches beyond the moment. At the same time, your urgency sharpens because you know that big change comes from the small things done repeatedly and deliberately. It's easy to fall into the trap of waiting for the right time, especially when you're thinking long-term. But the right time is now. You don't need to see the entire staircase to take the first step. You don't need to have it all figured out to make progress today. Thinking in decades gives you a destination. Acting in days gives you momentum. Your 10-year plan doesn't start with a massive leap. It starts with today's decision, today's action, today's mindset. Whether it's reading a page, sending an email, waking up an hour earlier, or choosing to focus rather than scroll, it matters. It adds up. When your days are aligned with your decades, you begin to build something real. Not just a life of activity, but a life of direction and strong. And that, over time, changes everything. The people around you shape you more than you realize, whether you're aware of it or not. Your mindset, your habits, your confidence, and even your vision for what's possible are constantly being influenced by your environment. This is why auditing your circle is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make for your next 10 years. It's not about cutting people off out of ego or superiority. It's about alignment. It's about asking yourself a powerful question. Are the people in my life helping me grow or holding me back? If you spend time with people who complain constantly, who avoid responsibility, who fear change, it's only a matter of time before their energy becomes yours. Negativity is contagious. So is mediocrity, but so is ambition, so is accountability, so is belief. The right circle challenges you, not out of competition, but out of care. They see who you could become, and they push you to get there, even when it's uncomfortable. Auditing your circle isn't about surrounding yourself only with people who agree with you. In fact, the best people will challenge your thinking, call out your blind spots, and tell you the truth you don't want to hear. They won't let you settle for less than you're capable of. They'll remind you of your standards when you start slipping. They'll celebrate your wins without jealousy and help you stay grounded during losses. Your environment either reinforces your excuses or holds you accountable to your potential. Take a hard look at who you spend the most time with. Do they encourage growth? Do they set high standards for themselves and others? Do they live with purpose and consistency? Or do they drain your energy, fuel your doubts, and distract you from what matters? And just as importantly, ask yourself what kind of person you are in other people's circles. Are you adding value? Are you lifting others up or pulling them down? The goal isn't just to find a better circle, it's to become someone worth circling around. Sometimes, auditing your circle means making uncomfortable changes. It might mean spending less time with certain friends. It might mean setting boundaries with family. It might mean stepping into new communities where you're the least experienced person in the room. That can feel intimidating, but it's where growth lives. You don't rise by staying comfortable. You rise by placing yourself in environments that demand more from you. The truth is, your potential is not just a reflection of your talent. It's a reflection of your surroundings. Over the next 10 years, your circle will influence your choices, your identity, and your direction. Choose wisely, because who you're around today will shape who you become tomorrow. Success is not built in explosive moments of inspiration. It's built quietly, in the shadows of your daily decisions, Hey, most people wait for motivation to strike, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. What actually shapes your life are your habits, the things you do consistently, not occasionally. If you want to fix the next 10 years of your life, don't focus on dramatic change. Focus on mastering small, sustainable habits that align with your values and goals. Habits determine how you spend your time, where you direct your energy, and what kind of identity you reinforce every single day. If you repeatedly act in a way that supports your growth, you begin to see yourself as someone who grows. If you constantly show up on time, you begin to see yourself as reliable. If you commit to reading every day, even just a page, you reinforce that you're someone who learns. Over time, the identity built through habits becomes stronger than any short-term motivation. The power of a habit lies not in its intensity, but in its consistency. It's better to exercise for 10 minutes every day than to go to the gym for 2 hours once a month. It's more effective to write for 5 minutes daily than to wait for a weekend of inspiration. Why? Because repetition strengthens identity. When you show up again and again, even when it's boring or hard, you're casting votes for the kind of person you want to be. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum makes discipline easier. Once a habit becomes part of your routine, it no longer requires as much thought or energy. It becomes automatic. You no longer have to battle with yourself every morning. You simply do it because that's who you are. But to get there, you have to start small. Too many people fail because they try to do too much too fast. Mastery comes not from volume, but from patience and refinement. Habits also act as anchors. When life gets unpredictable, your habits provide structure. When emotions fluctuate, habits offer stability. You can't control every outcome, but you can control the input. You can't always predict results, but you can commit to the process. That's what consistent habits give you, power over the process. The real transformation happens when your habits shift from being something you do to becoming part of who you are. You no longer need to try to be disciplined. You are disciplined. You are disciplined. You don't force yourself to grow. You're someone who grows. That's the shift that creates lasting change. It's not flashy. It won't go viral. But 10 years from now, it will separate those who lived with intention from those who only lived with ambition. Time and energy are two of the most valuable resources you have, yet they are often the easiest to waste. Every day, you're bombarded with distractions, demands, and decisions that pull your focus in 100 directions. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself busy but not effective, drained but not productive, surrounded by noise but disconnected from purpose. Protecting your time and energy isn't about being selfish. It's about being intentional. It's about recognizing that what you give your attention to ultimately shapes your future. Many people live in reaction mode. They respond to every message, say yes to every request, attend every meeting, and chase every opportunity. But saying yes to everything means saying no to the few things that actually matter. Time is finite. Energy is limited. When you give it away too freely, you dilute your impact. You cannot be everything to everyone and still be true to yourself. Protecting your time means creating boundaries. Not just physical boundaries, but mental and emotional ones. It means scheduling your priorities instead of prioritizing your schedule. It's the discipline to turn off notifications, to set limits on how much you consume, to say no even when it's uncomfortable. Because every yes carries a cost. Every hour you spend on something meaningless is an hour you could have invested in something meaningful. Energy protection goes beyond rest. It's about alignment. You gain energy when your actions match your values. You lose energy when you spend your days doing things that don't fulfill you. Pay attention to the people, places, and habits that either fuel you or drain you. Not every opportunity deserves your involvement. Not every conversation deserves your engagement. The more aware you become of where your energy leaks, the easier it becomes to protect it. One of the most powerful ways to protect your energy is by owning your mornings. How you start your day sets the tone for how you navigate it. Begin with clarity, not chaos. Design rituals that ground you: reading, journaling, planning, moving your body. These small practices act as a shield against the chaos of the day. When you take control of the first hour, you're less likely to lose control of the rest. It's also essential to recognize that rest is not a reward, it's a requirement. You don't earn rest after burnout. You prevent burnout by resting intentionally. Pushing beyond your limits every day may look productive, but over time, it erodes your capacity. True discipline includes knowing when to stop, when to recover, and when to say, "Enough now." Your future will be shaped not just by how hard you work, but by how well you protect what fuels your work. Time and energy, once spent, cannot be retrieved. So guard them like your dreams depend on it, because they do. Every decision you make with your time and every place you invest your energy is either a step toward your vision or a step away from it. Progress is never a straight line. No matter how well you plan, life will test your patience, your priorities, and your persistence. It's your persistence. That's why the ability to reflect often and adjust quickly is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. It's not about being perfect. It's about being aware. It's about staying connected to your direction while remaining flexible in your approach. People who grow consistently aren't the ones who avoid mistakes. They're the ones who pay attention to them, learn from them, and move forward smarter than before. Reflection creates space between your actions and your assumptions. It allows you to pause and ask, what didn't? What needs to change? Without regular reflection, you risk repeating the same patterns and expecting different results. You can be disciplined, determined, and still be heading in the wrong direction if you never stop to check the map. Reflection isn't about regret, it's about insight. It's not about judging yourself harshly, but observing yourself honestly. But reflection alone isn't enough. You also need the courage to adjust fast. Too many people stay stuck because they confuse commitment with stubbornness. They hold on to strategies that no longer serve them, stay in environments that stunt their growth, or continue habits that drain their energy. Growth requires movement, and movement requires change. If the system isn't working, fix the system. If the plan isn't serving the purpose, rewrite the plan. The faster you make adjustments, the faster you get back on track. Being able to course correct quickly is a sign of maturity, not weakness. It means you're more loyal to your future than to your ego. It means you value progress over pride. It means you're not afraid to evolve. And in a world that changes rapidly, this skill becomes even more critical. The people who thrive are the ones who adapt, not reactively, but intentionally. Daily or weekly check-ins with yourself can be game changers. Take time to ask yourself key questions. Am I spending my time in alignment with my goals? Are my habits supporting or sabotaging my growth? Is my current strategy still leading me toward the life I want? These simple, consistent moments of self-inquiry keep you from drifting. They help you spot the small shifts you need before they become big problems. And when you realize something isn't working, don't wait. Don't overthink. Adjust. Whether it's your routine, your environment, your mindset, or your approach, make the change. It doesn't have to be perfect, just intentional. Action leads to clarity. You don't figure everything out by standing still. You'll figure it out by trying, learning, and evolving. In the end, your next 10 years won't be determined by how well you avoid failure, but by how quickly you recover and redirect. Reflection keeps you honest. Adjustment keeps you agile. Together they form the foundation of resilience, and that's what creates lasting transformation. So as you stand at the edge of the next 10 years, remember this. You don't need to have everything figured out, but you do need to start with intention. Build your life on purpose, not pressure. Think big, act small, and stay consistent. Surround yourself with people who reflect your future, not your past. Protect your time like it's your most precious currency. Because it is. And when life shifts, reflect, adjust, and keep moving forward.